there's a pretty big difference too. AJ is walking into a young quarterback situation who's emerging, where Randy Moss was walking into a situation with an established, incredibly well-respected, incredibly accomplished quarterback. And I'm not saying Drake can't become that, but it's different. And Randy at that point had some sourness in terms of the experience he had, and then you could say the same thing for AJ in Philadelphia, but a little bit different in terms of how it's all transpired. And there can be some problems with a guy like AJ and as strong a personality as he has at this point in his career, going into a situation with a young quarterback that to me is going to merit looking after. And if you look at the production from Stephon Diggs to A.J. Brown, we can bring this up. I mean, Stephon had a pretty amazing year last year, and statistically, they were very similar in terms of overall production. So it's not like you're bringing a guy that knocked it out of the park. And I guess, again, we could look at it as his down year was a function more of dysfunction in Philadelphia as opposed to him not being able to get to the 1,400-yard mark.
Yeah, I think I would be surprised, stunned if he caused problems in New England. Like the same types he did in Philadelphia. Like if he's complaining about not getting the ball, reading a book on the sideline, just because, one, he's going to clearly be beyond the number one target. Like they're going to go to him often. Obviously, he's got a better passing quarterback than he had in Philadelphia with Hurts. And then with his relationship with Vrabel, like if he acted up, I wouldn't know what to say. I would just be like this, he's just going to be a problem wherever he's at. I get it. In Tennessee, when he was with Vrabel, he wasn't this A.J. Brown. He wasn't the A.J. Brown, the superstar. He was a guy that a lot of people didn't know of, and he was building himself into a star. So I get that that's a difference. But I think it's going to be a great duo. I think A.J. Brown's going to have a phenomenal individual season, and I think the Patriots' passing game is going to be great with him and Drake. But the only step, team-wise, like the only step is to win the Super Bowl. I don't think they're going to get as far as they got last year. They may be a better team.
All right, so So I don't know that, because when you I didn't see that graphic, and I don't know if I was as,
You're not enamored by this?
No, because guess what Devontae's numbers look like there. Prime Devontae Adams with any offensive coordinator. Guess what Brandon Marshall's numbers look like there. Prime Brandon Marshall with any offensive coordinator. Randy, to me, as much credit as I'd love to give Josh McDaniels for that year, that was perfect storm everything Patriots. And
Josh McDaniels is a big part of that.
If I were power ranking credit for the 07 Pats and the Brady-Moss connection, he's probably fourth or fifth name I'm going to mention, but that's fine.
Remember, Devontae didn't have a quarterback when he put up those numbers either.
No, I understand, but Devontae is a future Hall of Famer, super productive player. Brandon, I think, is kind of forgotten how dominant some of his numbers are across the board. Randy's year is the greatest wide receiver year arguably ever. Jerry Rice in, I think, 88 or 89 has something to say about it. And Wes Welker was, who you didn't mention, but was 1,000+ yards for a long time with the Pats and with the Broncos. It was not with the Dolphins. With the Pats, he was amazing with the Broncos. So to me, the question is twofold. One is, why was last year the second least productive year of A.J. Brown's career? His second lowest yards, second lowest touchdowns, and the lowest yards per carry. Was that dysfunction, didn't want to be there, or was that a slightly declining player, and usually a slightly declining player continues to decline? Because he's only 29, I lean towards didn't want to be there, bad offensive system, he'll bounce back.
Yeah.
I have made my position on this matter abundantly clear, and I stand by it completely. It is my firm belief that A.J. Brown was a primary catalyst for the discord that plagued the Philadelphia Eagles last season. You can attribute the team's struggles to a multitude of factors, and that is certainly a valid conversation to have. However, when you isolate Brown's individual performance, the evidence of dysfunction is irrefutable. Even a cursory review of the game film reveals a player who was simply not winning at the line of scrimmage with the same ferocity he once did. His contested catch rate, a critical metric for a receiver of his physical stature, took a precipitous nosedive. This is an area where the onus is squarely on the receiver to make the play. To illustrate this point, one need only compare the on-field effort of A.J. Brown to that of a player like Puka Nacua. The disparity in intensity and commitment is immediately apparent. That visual comparison tells you everything you need to know about a player's drive. It has absolutely nothing to do with the quarterback delivering the football, it is purely a question of whether you are actively pursuing the ball and fighting for every inch. The inescapable conclusion is that either Brown is experiencing a premature decline in his physical abilities, or he was simply not exerting the necessary effort. The latter scenario, frankly, is pathetic. Regardless of who is under center, regardless of how disgruntled you might be on an why given Sunday, Monday, or Thursday, the expectation is that you put forth maximum effort. There are no excuses for a lack of professional pride. Now, I will concede that a change of scenery could be beneficial. If he finds himself happier in a new environment, such as New England with Josh McDaniels and Drake May, it is plausible that his effort level will increase. However, the very fact that his motivation is contingent upon external factors tells you a profound amount about his character and professionalism. I do not care how unhappy a player is with his contract, his quarterback, or his coaching staff, to mail it in on the field is an absolute embarrassment and a disgrace to the sport. It is an indefensible position. His teammates are not oblivious to this, they see it on the field and in the locker room, and it erodes the trust and cohesion necessary for a championship run. There is simply no way to justify it. Furthermore, attempting to draw a parallel between this situation and the legendary Randy Moss-Tom Brady era in New England is utterly insane and delusional. What those two accomplished together is a benchmark of football greatness that cannot be invoked lightly. I do believe A.J. Brown will experience significant success with Drake May and the Patriots. I will give Josh McDaniels his due credit as an offensive mind, contrary to the narrative some are trying to push. It is a convenient and obnoxious double standard to claim that coaching only matters for the Cans. As City Chiefs when it serves to elevate Patrick Mahomes, yet when it comes to another team, the coach is suddenly irrelevant. This logic is impossible to follow. Now, suddenly, Josh McDaniels is apparently not a quality coach capable of orchestrating a successful offense with a talented receiver like Brown. This makes complete sense, I suppose, if you are willing to twist the narrative to fit a particular agenda. However, I still maintain that the majority of the credit for the Moss-Brady connection goes to the players themselves, because it was Tom Brady, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. And with all due respect, Drake May in his third season is not Tom Brady. I am exceptionally high on May's potential, I was excited from the moment I saw him take the field and I am a massive believer in his future. But he is not the 2007 version of Brady, and to make that comparison is simply silly and absurd. When we examine the graphic that compares Diggs and A.J. Brown, I understand the impulse to look at floor production and base statistics. However, they are fundamentally different players with distinct skill sets who are utilized in vastly different ways. I was very impressed with Diggs' performance, but I am not overly concerned with the direct comparison. Even if we narrow the focus to targets and receptions per game, the numbers are what they are. Brown's usage in a new system could project to a few extra receptions per game, which translates to additional yardage. He math works out to a significant increase in total production. That is a substantial improvement. Not only will Drake May likely be a better quarterback simply due to another year of experience and development, but you are also now potentially extracting more production out of your top receiver. I fully anticipate that A.J. Brown will be highly motivated to prove himself and be as dominant as his physical gifts allow. I believe he will go all in and put forth the effort that was so clearly lacking in his final season in Philadelphia. In hindsight, it is obvious that Brown was not giving 100% effort, which again, is an absolute disgrace. New England fans might be thrilled about his arrival and revel in Philadelphia's misfortune, but the reality is that his behavior was pathetic and inexcusable. It is 100% indefensible. I could understand a player checking out if they were on a perennial loser, a team with no direction. I don't agree with it, and I wouldn't do it myself, but from a human perspective, I can understand the frustration. But for a player on the Philadelphia Eagles, a team coming off a Super Bowl victory, to display such a lack of effort is beyond comprehension. I don't care how unhappy he was with the quarterback or the coaching staff. That behavior is an absolute disgrace. It will be fascinating to see the quality of his individual play, separate from his stat line. Will he win off the line of scrimmage? Will he create separation? Will he make contested catches? His contested catch rate plummeted last year, and I believe the difference between him and Puka Nacua was substantial. That is not on Jalen Hurts or Kevin Patullo, that is on the man in the mirror. You can argue that he is declining, that he is not the player he once was. Or you can conclude that he is an emotional player who didn't feel like putting in the effort. The latter seems more plausible, especially given his trade request. He asked to be moved, and when he wasn't, it appears he simply went through the motions. This is an obnoxious reality. From an entertainment perspective, all football fans should be disgusted by that. You watch the sport to see players give their all, to see their best. It is a disrespect to the game and the fans. My assessment is that the truth is likely somewhere in the middle. He is clearly not going to be the same dominant force he was in 2022. However, will he be a better version of himself in 2025? I believe he will. From a statistical standpoint, he will be fed the ball at a higher volume than ever before in his career. It will be interesting to see what that production looks like. But calling this partnership the next Randy Moss and Tom Brady is just delusional. This is coming from someone who has consistently defended and supported the Patriots, telling fans to stop complaining about the schedule and even touting Drake May as an MVP candidate. So, do not accuse me of being afraid of the Patriots' success. That is nonsense. Go back and TCH my takes from last season, there is no fear, only excitement. Saying this is 2007 Brady and Moss is simply delusional and absurd. If he puts up similar statistics to what he did with the Eagles, does that suddenly equate to one of the greatest duos of all time? What exactly is the bar we are setting here? But those are just my thoughts. I would love to hear yours. What do you all think about A.J. Brown and the hype surrounding the New England Patriots? Are you feeling it? If you are watching this, you are likely a deeply invested fan. Maybe you were younger during the Moss Brady era and remember it vividly. Does this feel like that energy? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one, whether you agree or disagree. Let's have discussions, let's have debates, but most importantly, let's have fun. Please consider subscribing. We are building a great community here, and I love seeing you be a part of it. I want to create something we all feel connected to. Give this video a thumbs up for visibility. Thank you, and see you next time.